Hey everyone, my name is Zack Esgar, and welcome to the Smarter Church Communications Podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have one of my longtime friends with me today, Will Parkins. Will is an amazing evangelist, college pastor. He has so many different roles, but I'm so excited to have him on our podcast today. Will, tell us a little bit about yourself and what all you do.
Yeah, so my name, as Zach said, is Will Parkins, and so I do a couple different things. So my main thing is I direct a college ministry here in Durango, Colorado, called Reach. So Reach Durango, and we're up at Fort Lewis College. Zach is weirdly intermingled in that story. He was like the patriarch, and now we're here. He's the grandfather of it, and yeah, so he just started some ministry work here in town that he passed down to somebody else, and they passed it down to me. And so yeah, now we're here. Another large part of what I do is I do it in a couple different veins, like I'll get more into that, but I do a lot with social media and add into that church communications. So here at my home church, I'm an elder, but I also am in charge of the media, so the digital side of the communications. So I'm kind of over the website design. I also do all the weekly communication, like email. I also do like the bulletin, but I'm also over the social media, and then I do a lot of personal social media stuff as well. My kind of big aim with that is evangelism and discipleship. I'm kind of pivoting a little bit to focusing more on like young Christian leadership development because honestly, I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of people that engage with that who aren't Christian and they become Christians through it. So it's kind of I have to find, I'm rambling on, but I have to find a niche essentially because evangelism, believe it or not, is not really a niche on social. Like you can't really, or niche. I'm redneck, so sorry.
Potato,
I
potato.
hate saying niche. So I just go for the wrong one. But you kind of have to have a target, right? Like an avatar that you're going after. And evangelism doesn't really have that. It just kind of has anybody who's. I mean, I guess you could say people who are really struggling or something like that. But it's hard to target people with evangelism really really clearly. So I'm kind of taking the leadership route to that evangelism end. But then I also have a it's hard company because it's kind of a small side thing that I'm doing right now uh, where I'm helping churches and ministries with social media. And so I've helped, three or four different clients with that. And yeah, my big kind of goal, I mean, my mission statement, my essentially what I want to help people do is fulfill the Great Commission through social media. So that's kind of my heart with social media. And then I'm obviously trying to help others do that where it's not just me. But there's all these churches who are solid, who love God's word, who really want to share the gospel and share the message of God's grace expressed clearly through Jesus Christ and his work and his life, death, and resurrection. But a lot of them really, really suck at marketing and really are terrible at being in the 21st century or just digitalizing anything. And so that's kind of my aim. Like that's who I'm aiming for is the people who's like, man, so many people could benefit from your stuff. You just don't know how to package it and get it online. And so that's kind of my whole dream is to bring these churches who are sharing like, man, just amazing stuff and getting that onto these platforms. Um, you know, I feel like I can do that uniquely because I've been in the ministry world and I am in the ministry world full time, and I'm an elder at a church. But I also am Gen Z at the same time. So I'm 25. Well, I just turned 26. Um, and so I can kind of understand and bridge those two worlds together. Like I grew up on social media. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I do. That was a very long answer, but
No,
that's
that's
kind of
great.
the basics.
Now, so tell us a little bit like there's lots of different veins to communicate in or lots of different channels. Like why social media? Why do you feel like you have a conviction to really lean into social media, and why do you think social media is a channel that is really important for the church today?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you're talking to people in person, right? There's that whole, I don't even know if it's true, but you see the graphic go around saying, the number one way people get to church is being invited by a friend. And I would imagine that's true. So ideally, it's like, yeah, we're talking to people face to face, but we can't get to everybody for a variety of reasons. One is just like our culture, right, and the way we kind of live now and exist, and we're very isolated. But the place where we are, very, very often, and the statistics vary, but they'll, some will say, and I try to kind of average it out in my head, but we'll say that Gen Z's on social media, this isn't even your phone, on social media around 4 hours a day, and that millennials are 2.5 hours a day. And like I said, that's social media. That's not even your phone, so phone's higher than that. And so if we, as people who want to get the gospel before others, like let's say you're a missionary and you want to share the gospel with the people of Rwanda. I don't know how Christianized they are. That's just the first thing that came to mind. But you want to go share the gospel in Rwanda. Like the first step is being there, right? Like being with the people. And so in our culture, one of the easiest ways to get in front of people and get the message before people is to bring it onto the social media platform. So that was my conviction, was like, I lead college ministry, like I said, and I get an hour, like, okay, let's say 2 hours if they're really engaged in doing Bible studies and one-on-one discipleship. I get a couple hours with students to really uh, attempt to form their worldview, bring gospel to their life, have them apply it personally. But that same student, that's 2 hours a week, right? I'm getting with this individual, but they're spending double that a day on social media. And so for me, it was really just a sit down and go, okay, if I want to actually get the gospel to people, I got to go where they are, and that's social media right now. Yes, there's a lot of sucky parts. Like there's a lot of parts that just aren't ideal about social media, like mental health stuff, um, and we could complain kind of about it all day long, and a lot of those things are true, like the effect it's having on younger people. But whether we like it or not, people are there. And so as like gospel people, as evangelists, as all Christians are, should be, right, we're looking to make others Christians. um we just have to go where they exist, even if it's like a terrible place. So like, oh yeah, let's go down to the what is it called, like the red quarter, right? Like we would never go there to share the gospel. That doesn't click with us. Like, yeah, we got to go to the broken places to share the gospel. So I kind of have the same perspective with social media. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff with it, and there's a lot of ways I can use it like in really, really unhealthy ways. But that, like, the misuse of something shouldn't push us from the missional use of that same thing, right? And so there's a way to do it that's healthy, and there's a way to do it that's very gospel centered. And yes, it's marketing to some extent, but it's also a huge opportunity for us. And so that's where, for me, the pros and cons of it, it's like, yeah, would life have been better 300 years ago? Without social media, I mean, maybe you also might die of the Black Death, but or the Black Plague. But like, so it's like, sure, like, yes, there's negatives to this platform and to this thing, this, you know, social media, but that's where people live right now. So
Yeah.
if we're gonna be about sharing our faith, we just got to go where they are. So
Yeah.
I don't remember what your initial question was. Hopefully that
Well,
answered that.
you answered it, but I think
Okay,
one of the
cool.
crazy things about today is how much time people spend on social media. And like you said, like if they're there, they could be taking in lots of things that are not gospel spin
For
or
sure.
not glorifying to the Lord. So I just think about like your vision to bring light into the darkness and to bring the gospel to where they're at is huge because they're there whether we're there or not. And I think your calling that you've really felt to really help churches, to help ministries come into that scene and to not just like post events or like, hey, come to my cool thing, but to actually like begin to use social media as a platform discipleship and outreach and evangelism. And I think a lot of churches will say, yeah, like I want to use our social media for outreach and evangelism, so we're posting some events.
Yeah.
And then maybe like I think the thing that you said that really clicks with me too is how much time people are spending on their phones versus how much time they're spending at the church. Like if it's 14 hours a week on social media and only at the church. And you were gracious in saying that they're at church for 2 hours. Most people have an hour and a half service. They're 10 minutes late. They're checking social media because they got a couple of dings in the middle of service and they're a little bit
Sure.
checked out. So it's like really maybe graciously have like 60 minutes
Yep.
with people in discipleship. But if we can really meet them where they're at and bring about discipleship materials on social media that they're consuming and interacting with throughout the week, I think we can really begin to help people take those Sunday truths into Monday realities and like really
Yeah.
apply them throughout the week and remind them. So maybe tell us a little bit like how do you see like strategically like what are some things if I'm a communications director, I'm in charge of the social media at our church right now. What are some simple steps I could take to begin to maybe shift my mindset, or maybe it's just some simple post, or like, hey, these couple of tips might be able to help get me out of just the mundane of what I'm used to doing and begin to change my focus into how could I begin to post content or post things that could really bring about discipleship as people interact with our content.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's good. My biggest like thing in my head with approaching social media is add value, right? It's kind of one of those things again, whether we like it or not, people are approaching platforms selfishly to get something, right? You can fill in your value prop or how you add value to the world, uh, however you want, whether that's like education, entertainment, like there's lots of different options there. But when I think about why would somebody engage with my social media, there has to be value added to their life on your platform. So I'm big on the not using social media for churches and ministries just as announcements, like for local events, because okay, here's the person you're trying to reach with the gospel. Here's you. Okay, if they come to your local event, great. But what if you could just get the gospel to them right there instead of having that bridge of local attendance involved? Like that's what I'm really passionate about. So I actually I'm like really, really particular on what we even and this depends on the page and there's lots of variables here, but on what we'll promote that goes local like is focused on the local audience. So I really, really try not to bombard our social media presence with local stuff so that the people who are following us from elsewhere and aren't there because they go to church with us in person are actually being discipled and met and aren't forced out because oh this is just for the people in Durango or
Right.
where Lubbock, right?
Yep.
Lubbock,
Love it.
Lubbock.
Yep.
And so that's the biggest thing I'll advise people on is like add value. So are you actually adding something to their life in relation to it can be entertainment. It can be like this feeling of like I belong to a tribe or to a group of people. But most often it's this discipleship, worldview shaping, like helping you in your walk with God type stuff. And so the biggest thing I'll advise people is just what are you already doing in person? Most pastors, most churches, most ministry leaders have a plan for where they're going, what people need to know, learn, all those sorts of things, right? And so my advice to everybody is just digitalize it. So, I really, really try to hit with pastors like your job now is not to become a content creator. Uh, we're just trying to repurpose and repackage everything you're already doing in person. And so, how do we make this as like easy as possible, right? So, one thing I love is when I can get into the slides from a sermon, or get the sermon notes from the pastor, or like or even other people's notes on like the big points and transform those into content pieces. Obviously, ideally, you've got video and you've got these plans to kind of launch. Okay, so let's say you've got a Wednesday night in the Word or a Sunday school going on. Like, ideally, you can get a video camera there and turn that into your own content for these platforms. But a lot of times, that's just not the world of church. And so, whoever it is that's making the content for a church, usually it's like the secretary, let's say, or the communications, the admin role. They're just kind of like, yeah, just post on social media too. Like that's where So most simple, like let's say you want to start this week, like making actual like good content for your church. The simplest format. Okay, take your pastor's sermon and write a hook. So essentially, what's the most interesting part of your pastor's sermon? Like to normal people, not to your pastor, to normal people, like to online people. What's the most interesting thing there? So parenting is a good example. Like that's a very broad audience, people looking for spiritual direction on how do I parent. So, oh, he mentioned this on not doing X with parenting, and throw something together. It's like a thesis in a paper when you're in school, right? Like uh, put together that hook that's going to really, the idea is stop the scroll. So they're scrolling through social media. Oh, what? That's really interesting. Or there's a question that I need answered because of that hook, and then fill in your pastor's 3 points just on the next 3 slides. So you've probably seen carousels. Whoever's listening, you might not click that's the name, but it's like a square slide, and then it's the swipe. So there's 4 or 5. They can go up to 20 now slides. I wouldn't recommend using all 20, but for this, but so throw up a big hook and then swipe for the information, and that's a really really easy. Like you don't have to get a camera or worry about microphones or any value you add at like a long form level. Like churches are unique because they're literally doing content every single week. It's that whole idea. I think in pictures, so this is hard for me to just talk. I have to have like a whiteboard or something, but um, it's like, I'm doing some more social media education right now. And the whole thing is like, you got your long form content and that just splinters into all this other content, right? And literally churches are doing that they've got their long form content every single week. We just don't splinter it because we don't have like the time or the people or just the know-how or the money to make it happen, whatever it is. But that's the thing is like whoever you are, you can do it. It can be very manageable. And then my last tip, I'm sorry, I've just rambled, dude. But my last tip, so like the add value, right? Discipleship over announcements, and then there's somebody else. I think her name's Danielle on Instagram. I forget her Instagram handle. I want to give her some credit there because she was big on that discipleship, not announcements thing, and that really stuck with me when I was first starting off on this. Um, I wish I knew her handle off the top of my head, but she's big in the church social media world. But and then the last one is consistency is key. So I don't know how often you can post a week, but just not doing like 3 posts this week and then you don't post again for a month. Like if you can, even if it's not as often as it should be or could be, even just let's say twice a week and you got like a Monday and a Friday, just keep that going and it'll just snowball over time. And that just really helps you out with the platforms too. Like if they see somebody who's going to consistently deliver value for their audience, that yeah, they'll continually promote, even if it's not right. 2 times a week is not a ton, but they'll see that there's consistency with your page and consistent engagement, and they'll start to roll you forward a little bit more. So that's the last thing is that consistency is key. With just keep on a schedule out your month, and keep on it. So
That's awesome. I think one of the things we've talked a lot about as a staff on our side is to really help churches posting consistently on social media. You have to have some type of plan. And so we try
yeah.
and help churches think through, hey, every Monday, try and just pull the main scripture from the sermon, put that in a Canva template, and just honestly just build a simple template and just create a new page for every week. And then, hey, every Wednesday, we're going to talk about the main point and actually ask a question about that. So try and think about what's one question you could ask people about the main point from the sermon on Wednesday. And again, just go into Canva, create the exact same thing, go in and create all the next month. But one of the things we found to help churches consistently post is to have like a schedule of what am I going to post and how could I bulk edit that too. So like if you know your pastor's sermons way ahead of time, sit down in one day and crank out the next 5 sermons, main scripture for your Monday post, and crank out their main question or main point for Wednesday's post. Put those out, and at least then you have 2 posts a week going out that you sat down and got done really in about 30 minutes and
Yeah,
just planning.
absolutely.
But do you have like any type of cadence like that that you've seen like helpful for y'all, or what are any other cadences besides just like a main scripture or main question? Is there
Yeah.
some other cadences people could throw in on like a Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah. So usually what we'll do is I've shifted up a little bit in like our management for other churches. Because initially my plan was three posts a week. Monday is a discipleship post. Wednesday is a sermon clip, and Friday is like a sermon teaser, like a hook essentially for church attendance.
Yeah.
Obviously my whole thing is don't just do local church announcements, but it's also, especially if we've got online services and stuff, like we're our main goal obviously is still our local like impact and taking care of our churches. And so it's like you don't want to get lost in there's kind of a balance there.
Yeah.
But kind of what I've shifted to lately, just for my own sanity and survival, and because uh, it can be difficult to gather as much content as you need if you are the content creator. Uh, and so, really, I've shifted to the twice a week. Tuesdays are my discipleship post days. Thursdays, Fridays are our sermon clip days, and then I'll throw everything else in the stories. You know, Stories are awesome. I think it's Brady Shear. He says that they're like the most viewed content on Instagram. I think in Instagram, I talk in Instagram. That's my main platform. So that's just when I talk, I talk in
Yeah.
Instagram. Um, but yeah, so local events or here's what's going on, that sort of stuff. I'll usually throw in the stories. But that's been a pacing for me that's been really good, and it's less about me and more about what the churches can realistically provide me with. So maybe you're the content creator for your church, to think through. Okay, there's one post that I have to go gather and kind of be uh, creative about, or I got to go get the pastor's sermon notes or go through the slides, and then have one that's a sermon clip. And I edit all. Well, I've got somebody who helps me with that, but we edit all of our sermon clips. We don't use any of the AI stuff. I just don't trust it to find points that I actually care about, or to I have control issues, so I want it to look really good too. So we edit all ours, but that's kind of our thing right now.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of potential growth to be had with some of the inspirational, motivational, even just verses. I mean, you see some real big pages that's what they do. For us,
Yeah.
something we've considered is creating a secondary page, like a reach. The ministry I work with here, Reach Durango, that's a college ministry. We've considered, and we're still game planning slash haven't gone in on it yet, but we've considered doing a secondary page that's Reach Media. Uh, in order to kind of break that boundary of like it's a local church or local ministry, like so that some of that motivational, real easy, put a verse on the screen and make it aesthetically pleasing, kind of goes out to a broader audience, even just through our kind of branding and our descriptions and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what we do right now. If there's a big event, I think this is a Brady Shear piece of advice too. If we'll post like an announcement post if it's like 75% of the church at the very least. So I just posted for our page, First Be Durango. I posted our annual Halloween carnival thing. So that's worth it to me, because that's going to be, that's going to be 100% of our church. Maybe
Yeah.
not the 93-year-olds, but then also the broader local community as well. So that one's worth a post for me, and it's not going to overwhelm our digital audience to the point where they're gone. So
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I think one of the cool things that I've seen you do that I really haven't seen a lot of other churches do is, even it takes time, but to be intentional and even just like putting real thought and into discipleship material of like, hey, I know that I want to help somebody learn about this topic. And it might be about like a topic that y'all are talking about at church that week or something. But I know like I've seen some of your whiteboard stuff, and I know some of this is more on your personal page and not necessarily your church page. But to me, that is so engaging in discipleship in a way that it isn't just like a verse from the week or something, but it's really intentional curating content, making content that isn't just an invitation, but it's actually like, hey, how do I share the gospel? And that's almost like I feel like your one of your hooks. It's like, how do I share the gospel? And that like that's a great question. And then you like break it down, and it's like, hey, this is how you can simply share the gospel. Like one, two, three, and it like really quickly within like 60 seconds. That post initially like caught my attention and like
Mm.
drew me in. And I know you've experimented with a lot of different types of posts like that. What have you seen that really is caught? Because you talk a lot earlier about like this, how your social media can expand about beyond just the local. Like if you look at your analytics and see like what videos for you have really taken off, has there been any types of trends or anything like that that you're like, man, I've really seen whenever we do X, Y, or Z that this has really helped us like get more engagement or get more views? What have you sort of seen that works as far as the actual content?
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, early on the reels, and I started January 2023. Yes, on my personal stuff, and early on reels were just killing it. And but as of like the last 5 months or 4 or 5 months, for some reason carousels have just been baller. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like an Instagram's pushing it type thing. And again, I'm talking Instagram, but also actually on TikTok, carousels have been doing well too, which I don't know what that's about. TikTok's a mess in terms of what they're promoting as an organization, um, but yeah, carousels, that super educational added value. Um, the there's also the entertainment side of things. It's frustrating for me because that's not naturally where I kind of go or thrive, but those are really effective. One thing that I've really tried to start implementing on our college ministry side of things is the meme, like, and actually even I've been wading into teaching through meme, like taking my exact same concepts I'm doing right now. I don't know if you saw it when I did the other day, but I did like a Good Samaritan, but I did it with memes, and that did. I mean, it did fine. It did well. Um, and so that entertainment side of things, and if you see a church post I get church posts like crazy in my feed because that's what they know I look at and save, and um, a lot of them are those kind of silly, like sprint and jump into the or into the seats, just really wacky stuff that'll catch your attention that you never guess a church is doing. And you even start to see some Roman Catholic videos, that sort of stuff. Like you're like, wow, it's getting serious. And so that stuff seems to work well too. I mean, the shorter it always works better when it's shorter. Like the shorter you can go. I used to have a minute and a half rule. I won't even go over a minute now, and I shoot for under 30 seconds now, because it's just like you can just watch your people leave as your video goes on. Oh, the simplest tool in the world. This was big for me, which I was like, that's such a simple piece of advice. uh, but just don't introduce yourself. That's like, if there's any advice at all, stop introducing yourself and saying, "Hi, my name is blank, and I'm from." Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. Always start your first 5 seconds with your hook. And this is a good piece of advice too, like visual hook as well as audible hook, and something like moving and intriguing. Like I'll always, I shouldn't say always because people will test me and go find a video where I didn't do it, but uh, I will really, really try. We'll go with that to start off with like a quick zoom or like and the text on the screen. And so you gotta. I mean, they're scrolling like this, right? Like their average pacing is probably like boop, 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 right? So you gotta stop that, like, or they're gone. And if it starts with some Baptist pastor saying, "Hey, my name's Clyde," or whatever it is, from like, they're gone. It's like, I'm good, man. But if you start it with something that's like, they have to know I don't know if this is a real thing, but I kind of conceptualized it in my head of like, you want to almost open something in their head where they have to have that thing closed, like open feed. I saw it somewhere, but it's this like idea of like, through your hook, you want to make it where they've got to find like the answer or the relief to that problem, or like, that's that whole thing of like, watch till the end of this video for blank. Even if it's the dumbest thing in the world, I still watch through 30 seconds to see this. And it's like, for some reason, that just got me to finish it, right? And so, yeah, the shorter videos, the short, like smaller, more condensed content, if people finish your stuff, like Instagram, whatever it is, will promote it further because they're going, oh, they're a business and they want people on this platform engaging with content, right? And so if they see something's working, like if they see, oh, people actually care about this post, like they're finishing it or they're liking it or they're saving it, then they're going to promote it further because it's going to keep more people on their platform and engaged on their platform. That's why I'm just rambling on. But the call to actions, I hate call to actions because I feel like they're cringe. Like, comment, share, follow. I don't like them at all. But they work so well because if somebody shares your post or saves your post or comments on your post, you just like doubled what the algorithm's going to give you or whatever it is, right? Like, somebody taking a simple thing of like commenting like, that's really good, it's going to propel to it depends on your size of your page, but like for me right now, if I get like a comment, it's going to go out to a couple hundred more people at the very least, right? Like, and so one little comment, but if I get 4 comments, 8 comments, 12, like, it's just going to boom, boom, boom. That's also why stuff that's controversial wins, is because if you can get a comment that's angry, just is like dark side of social media. But if you get an angry comment, it's like, all right, we're good. Like, because then somebody's going to respond to that. This is, I would get so mad. There's this page I follow that would post just the most ridiculous things in the world. Like, do you think, let's say, I don't know, do you think Tim Tebow could beat Michael Jordan in a one-on-one basketball game? And people just go into the comments, just raging, like, are you serious right now? Like, and the longest time I was like, is this page, like, is it run by morons? But I realized, oh, that's their content strategy, because if they get people fired up, it propels it to thousands and thousands and thousands of more people. So anyway, that's just a different tip too, is like, if you've got a church culture that's okay with being a bit edgy, it wins.
You want
That's
to
not
broadcast
my
further?
that's not my world, at least mostly. But yeah, so that's some quick things. It's just
No,
got to be interesting. It has to be stuff you would actually watch. Like,
no,
that's
that's
really the
really.
key.
I think that's great because a lot of times I think we post things just because we feel like we have to,
Yeah,
and we don't. We wonder why we don't have great engagement. It's like, well, would you enjoy like the video you just made? Would you like it? Would you comment on it? Would you share it? And so
yeah,
I think that's really important, is to make really engaging content. Another thing too, I think just a little insider trick or hack that you could do that we found helpful is if you can just reach out to like some of your leaders and just really encourage them of like, hey, we're trying to see our social media as more of an outreach.
that's good.
And this can happen if you like or comment or share our stuff. All
Yeah,
of a sudden now it's like a multiplier. Like, you like it, and all of a sudden our multiplier of who's going to see this just times by 10. And then
yeah,
you share it, it's times by 100. You if 5 people like it and share it, now we're at like 500x of what our initial reach was. And so I just think, like, even if you have to cheat the system a little bit and really like sort of line some of your staff or your volunteers up, say, hey, just interact with our content. The more they do that, just the more naturally, more their friends are going to start liking it, sharing it. You're going to see more followers, you're going to see more likes. So I just think, like, if you can line up a few volunteers, just say, hey, like our content, share it, comment. I
that's
think you'll
good.
see growth on some things too. And naturally they should be liking it. I mean, if you're putting out good content, hopefully you're those involved in your church and your leadership should be liking it and sharing it. But
For
I
sure.
think a few last thoughts here. Like, is there any tools, like if you were to say like I feel like to me, one of the most overwhelming things in stepping into social media, it's like, man, I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I don't know, like how to generate content or what I should be using. Or there's all these different tools and apps and things like that. Like, what are your top three favorite or top three tools that you're using that you would suggest to others?
Yeah. I mean, Canva obviously is my life. I have like 12 tabs open of Canva at all times. CapCut, I've really enjoyed. I obviously the real professionals are all Adobe, but I tried and it was taking too long to learn. And CapCut is simple. You've got everything you need. The pro version's not that much, so I know and especially the YouTube pros are like meh, 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 Adobe, but I was like, this is not worth my time. I'm going to use CapCut. And they've got some cool like templates and stuff on there too. I really enjoy it. So CapCut. And then actually one thing that's kind of a weird app that like I it doesn't look sketchy necessarily, but it's just not one you would ever expect that is like my third app that I use constantly it's called Clip Grab. It's essentially just a way to download any YouTube video at the highest quality, so like 1080 HP, HP, HD, HP,
1080p.
1080p, no H.
Yes, no H.
I should know that. But yeah, and you can also download all the audio off YouTube too. And so if you're like a remote person or it's a pain in the butt to get like you live streamed to YouTube, um, but you like are struggling or there's too many steps, local files, all that stuff. Clip grab, just copy paste a link in there, and it'll download it in a couple
That's
minutes type thing. And that's been a lifesaver for me because then I don't have to mess around with all the people and all the extra steps
Yeah,
to get the
transferring
videos I need.
files back and forth because most people already have their sermons uploaded to YouTube and you just
Yep,
download it,
for sure.
repurpose content. That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, Will, if I was a church and I was looking for some help and wanted to connect with you, what are the best ways to learn more about you and your services and how you guys help churches? How do we connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, probably my main. Well, okay, I developed this yesterday. Will Parkins .info.
There you go. Easy. Very
Yep.
easy.
I should probably let me hold
We'll
up.
have it in the links to the podcast. We'll put it in the show notes, all
Oh
the
yes,
things.
okay. I was just making sure. I made it yesterday. I was just making sure there wasn't a Will Parkins. Okay, willparkins.info. Yeah, that's got kind of all my links. I like. I'm a brat. I made like a custom link tree as a website. So that's probably the easiest place and a bunch of different stuff there. So
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for hopping on the podcast with us today. If you guys want to connect with Will, definitely check out his website, willparkins.info. Will, it was great having you on the podcast. Thanks for hanging out today.
appreciate you, bro. Later on.
See ya.